Here's some sleepers in fantasy basketball I'm going to target this season. The first guy is Demarcus Cousins of the Houston Rockets. The problem with Cousins the last few years, it's been the injuries, it's been the Achilles, it's been the knees. We don't know when he's going to play, but Cousins here, he had the extra time now to recover from his knee injury here with the long off season and obviously the pandemic with the season now starting 2 months later. He's going to be in Houston. They got James Harden, obviously the main option. They got John Wall over there, two Kentucky teammates reuniting here in the NBA now with the Houston Rockets. And the Rockets, they rebuilt their team pretty different this year, but it looks decent. And Cousins, last season, he didn't get to play. He's been out pretty much 2 seasons. So Cousins, he's a guy I'm not going to go overboard and try to get him early in the drafts. He's a guy, if I could get him from 12th to the 14th round here, that's where I'm going to try to get him, is Cousins, because I don't know what to expect from him. He hasn't played pretty much in 2 seasons. You're not going to get 25 and 12 out of him anymore. Those days are over. But Cousins, he's definitely a guy I'm going to keep an eye on and a guy I'm going to look to target as a sleeper here in fantasy drafts. The next guy is Carmelo Anthony of the Portland Trailblazers. Carmelo last year, he came back and most likely was his last chance in the league, and he took advantage of it. He got another contract this season, and he knows now he's an older player. He's a role player. They got C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard obviously over there as the top guys in Portland. But Melo last season, very solid off the bench, 15 points a game, 6 boards, an assist and a half for Melo, 2.3 foul shots a game, 43%, and he even had a 3.5 a game was Melo. So Carmelo Anthony, he's a guy you'll have at the back end of your roster, and he's a guy that's going to help you in scoring and rebounding for most fantasy teams. So Carmelo Anthony, he's going late in leagues. He's a guy I've seen go undrafted in some 10-team shallow leagues, but in 12-team leagues, he's a great sleeper. And he's a guy, hey, if I could get 15 points out of him again and 6 or 7 rebounds a game, it's not a bad guy to have at the back end of your roster or at a utility spot. So Carmelo Anthony, I'm targeting there. The next guy's Kyle Kuzma of the Los Angeles Lakers. This guy, he gets a lot of heat from Laker fans and the media is Kuzma, but this guy, he made some big plays in the playoffs. He could score, he can make things happen, and if the Lakers do trade him here in the offseason, he's a guy that's value's going to skyrocket. And right now, last year, 13 points a game, 4 boards a game, a 3.5 a game, and a foul shots a game, 43% from the field. So Kuzma, he's similar to Carmelo Anthony, but just not as much of as a scorer. But he's a guy I'm going to take a flyer on late in fantasy drafts, and he's a guy that could even go undrafted in a few leagues. But like I said, if LeBron James, he's going to sit out the first few games or weeks. Kuzma, he's a guy that's going to get 20 or 30 minutes in this offense, and he's a guy I'm going to target. Like I said, if he gets traded as well as Kuzma, he's going to go to a situation most likely where he's going to go to a team with young guys and he's going to get playing time. So Kuzma's a guy to keep an eye on and a guy to target as a sleeper here in fantasy drafts. The next guy is Luguentz Dort of the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder here, they gutted their whole team. It's all about the young guys and the rebuild now. And Dort, he looked good, man, in that playoffs. He was battling. He was playing physical versus James Harden and the Rockets there. So this guy, he's going to take a huge step, I believe, this season. He's got to improve on his three-point shooting, but this guy, he does a little bit of everything. He could score, I think, now. He's a big body over there, and he's going to get tons of playing time here, and he's a guy you could get very late or undrafted as well in leagues, but I think it's a breakout season for Dort. Like I said, there's no one over there in front of him in OKC. It's all about the kids and the kids playing, so Dort's a guy I'm going to target as a sleeper here. The next guy is Seth Curry of the Philadelphia 76ers. He got into a great landing spot, is Curry, with his father-in-law and the Sixers there. He's going to be a main piece off the bench and a three-point shooter was Curry. And Curry last year with the Dallas Mavs, he was very valuable as well as a guy off your bench in fantasy and a guy that could fill in with Seth. And Seth, he's going to go about 11th, 12th round in most fantasy drafts. And he's going to get a lot of playing time with Embiid and Simmons. So those teams, they're going to focus on those two guys. And Curry, he's probably going to be open in the corner for 3. And last year, 2.3s a game, 12 points a game, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, and 50% from the field. So Curry, he's going to help you with threes, obviously. He'll give you some decent points and some free throws. So he's a guy who qualifies for point guard and shooting guard. And he's a guy I'm going to target late in drafts and a guy that can help me in a few categories. So I definitely think he's a sleeper. I think he could have a breakout season as well because all the attention, like I said, is going to go to Simmons and Embiid. And he's just going to be open and making plays out there for this Sixer team. The next guy I have as a sleeper is Markelle Fultz, the Orlando Magic. Fultz, the former first-round pick of the Philadelphia 76ers a few years ago, finally had a breakout season last year, but he's still not getting the respect he deserves. He's going in 10th or 11th rounds here, and this guy could fill up the stat sheet. He had a couple big games last year. 12 points a game, 5 assists, 3 boards a game. He's definitely got to work on his three-point shooting, his Fultz. But Fultz, I think he's going to be good, man. And they're talking him up over there in Orlando. Steve Clifford, he's excited about him for his second season. This guy could score. We saw him have a big game versus the Lakers last season. So Markelle Fultz, he's a guy I'm going to target and a guy I'm going to have confidence in as a main utility player on my fantasy roster, or a guy that even you could bump him up to your shooting guard or point guard if he really breaks out this season. So Fultz, I think he's going to have a good year, and he's definitely a guy being slept on heading into fantasy drafts. The next guy is Dante DiVincenzo of the Milwaukee Bucks. DiVincenzo last year, he was pretty good over there in Milwaukee. I know they signed DJ Augustine and Breen Forbes as well was Milwaukee, but DiVincenzo, I think he's going to be the starting shooting guard over there for the Bucks after that Bogdan Bogdanovic deal fell through. So last season, DiVincenzo 9 points a game, 5 boards surprising, 2.3 assists, and 1.3 threes a game. So I think his numbers are going to go up a little. Obviously, if he's going to start there as DiVincenzo, he's going to get 25 to 30 minutes most likely for this Milwaukee Buck team, and he's going to start along True Holiday. They got Giannis, obviously, Middleton. So he's going to be the 4th, 5th option on this team. But this is a guy, he could shoot the ball, and I think he could get up to 13, 14 points a game. And he's a guy that you could target as well from the 10th to the 12th round. And he's definitely in that sleeper position where this guy could break out and be one of your better players on your fantasy team. So target DiVincenzo as well as a sleeper. The next guy is Aaron Baines of the Toronto Raptors. Baines, he had a solid season last year on the Phoenix Suns, and now he goes to Toronto. Baines last year, 11-6, 1 assist and a half a game, and he even added a 3.5 a game with 48% from the field. And this year, now he goes to Toronto, like I said. Serge Ibaka and Marcus All are gone, so Baines most likely going to be the starting center and getting anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes, in my opinion, for this ball club. So Baines, I think he could get the job done. I think the numbers could go up to 15 and 8 if he's going to get that playing time and be a piece over there in Toronto. They still got Siakam, Kyle Lowry, obviously, and they re-signed Fred VanVleet. But after that, there's not much in that Toronto offense. I know they got Anunoby, but I just like Aaron Baines and the landing spot for him here. And it's just him and Alex Len, pretty much the big men over there in Toronto. So Aaron Baines is a sleeper, and he's a guy you could target very late in your drafts. So go out there and target him. The next guy's Paul Millsap of the Denver Nuggets. Millsap, he had some good playoff games last season for this club. And now Millsap, he's a guy you'll probably get at the back end of your draft as well. And he's a guy I'm still going to take a flyer on and look to get his Millsap. He's a guy at the end of the draft you could get. Last season, 12-6, an assist a game, a 3 a game, 48% from the field. Grant's gone over there, so Michael Porter, he'll take that spot. But Millsap, he's still going to get value time and valuable minutes, and he's a guy that could chip in, and I think he's going to help fantasy clubs, is Paul Millsap. And he's a guy, like I said, you could target him very late in draft, so he's a guy I'm looking to go get out there. The next guy is Eric Gordon of the Houston Rockets. Gordon, he's the forgotten guy, I feel like, over there in Houston now, with them getting John Wall for Westbrook, Demarcus Cousins, and Christian Wood. Well, last year, Gordon, he was money for fantasy teams with 15 points a game, 2 rebounds, an assist and a half, 2.7 threes a game, but 36% from the field, and his field goal percentage is what hurt your team. But if you need threes and scoring, this is the guy to get, is Eric Gordon, and he'll probably come off the bench now as the sixth man over there in Houston, because just too many ball handlers and players now with John Wall in the mix over there as well. I know they traded Robert Covington, they still got Tucker, but this team, they're going to go with more of a traditional lineup, I believe, this season is the Houston Rockets. So I could see Gordon come off the bench again, and that's where he really lights it up, and that's where he gets his points, and he's the main ball handler if he's going to come off the bench. And the 10th and final guy I have as a sleeper here heading into fantasy drafts, Blake Griffin of the Detroit Pistons. Griffin with an injury-plagued season last year, but Griffin's a guy you could get 9th to 10th round, and he's still going to put up numbers. I believe Griffin last year, his numbers went way down in the limited amount of games he played. 16 points, 5 boards, 3.5 a game, which is good to see him score, and 35% from the field. But Griffin, I think he could power the numbers back up. Detroit, they don't have many options over there, to be honest. So Griffin, he'll still be a main focus over there. And with Andre Drummond out of the mix over there and Christian Wood in Detroit, he's going to be number one playmaker there. Just the only thing, the back-to-backs is what's going to get Griffin, and they got 7 of them this season is Detroit. So that's one thing to watch out about him, not playing the back-to-backs, but he's still a guy that could score and make plays, and a guy I'm going to target as a sleeper late in fantasy drafts. So that's 10 sleepers I have heading into the fantasy basketball season and to drafts this season.